to try to get out and get shot in the face. Because he's doing something that's making him look forward. So he's like this, don't shoot me, get shot, and now he's looking for an escape plan, and there's some reason he's looking forward.
That's everything you came down here to tell me. Right?
Well, yeah, because it lets me do this.
Okay.
Plus you're smarter.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to move on to something else for now. You indicated I want you to take a look at 6722. This was a scenario that involved the firearm or the shooter being outside the car.
Correct.
And if you would observe in your depiction there, the person who's shooting is looking above the car and sticking his hand not quite inside the vehicle all the way, but up to maybe his elbow,
Beyond the elbow.
a tad.
Well, I don't know approximately how much, but beyond the elbow.
And you
Almost to the armpit, actually.
and you opined during your direct testimony that you think it's not likely that the person could be standing outside and get that angle because his arm would have had to have been pressed up against the person in, assuming there was somebody there, in the rear driver's seat.
Correct.
And of course that would be rude, and you wouldn't want to be rude in a shooting.
Well, I mean, if there was somebody sitting there also and you have a gun pointed at you, I would, it's human nature to try to probably hold the person. It's who is going to let somebody hold up against them and with a gun in their hand.
Okay.
Without taking any action whatsoever.
So part of your analysis here wasn't dealing with just trigonometry and common courtesy, that's being rude, but also your psychology of what that person would have done.
Not necessarily. So for this particular demonstrative, that is my answer. If you have somebody being rude and pointing a gun across you, I would say that it's human nature to hold it. You want to protect yourself. You would want to make sure that nobody gets hurt. But that didn't happen, and we don't have any blood directionality coming this way. So this scenario, although it was hoisted, is not possible.
I just want to be clear. The reason that's not possible is two reasons. One, the shooter would be being discourteous by pressing up against the person in the rear driver's seat, assuming somebody was there, rear driver's side seat. And two, because you are assuming that that person would have grabbed the arm and therefore it couldn't have happened that way. That is your science that makes this shot, not what happened.
And what you're forgetting to mention is the blowback that's on the headliner that would be part of this shooting incident, which I testified on direct that you would not have the blowback on the headliner if you had someone outside the car shooting Anthony Williams and shooting Christopher Thomas. So therefore you added rudeness, so I disagree. I agree it's rude to hold somebody up against their car like that. But at the end of the day, it's not possible, based on the blood evidence and the trajectories of this, that somebody was outside of this vehicle shooting into the vehicle.
At the end of the day, it's just not possible. It didn't happen that way.
Correct.
Okay. And I just need this jury to be clear on why, at the end of the day, the shooter was not outside.
Because we don't have the blood evidence and the trajectory to line up with somebody being outside of the car.
Okay. We have another picture here of, is this just another angle? We're talking about 6729. Is this just another angle of that demonstrative that we just saw?
Yes.
Okay. And in your demonstrative, the person doing the shooting isn't even bothering to take a look at his target. He's looking over the top of the vehicle. You see that?
Well, I don't think that we need to be focused on what he's looking at. We need to be focused on the position of the gun and his arm, because those are the two, well, specifically his arm, because his face is not going to fire a gun. His arm and hand is going to fire the gun. So we need to look at where that gun and hand is in order to make that determination.
Okay.
And like I said, it's all demonstrative in order to throw out, not necessarily throw out in a negative way, but to throw out possibilities or scenarios.
Okay, so if this, indulge me because we don't have anything for me ready to demonstrate, but if this, for example, is the frame of the window, there's no way that the person could be like that inside and actually looking at what they're shooting? That's not possible to you.
So you're suggesting that somebody is reached fully into the car, stretching across somebody.
I didn't say anybody was in the rear passenger seat. You did. But
Well,
I'm asking
okay.
you, I'm asking you,
Excuse me, guys, one at a time.
thank you, Judge. I'm sorry. I'm asking you if it's possible that somebody could actually have been looking through that window at where they're firing instead of looking at the moonlight.
So they would, if they're putting their body into the car, they would actually have to drop their arms down in order to obtain that shot for Anthony Williams, because it is at such a degree that it exits out the front of his head and into a window, through a window. So dropping your arms in there, I just don't, it's not possible.
Okay, you do realize we're still talking about Christopher Thomas, which is the person.
Okay, I understand. Oh, sorry, I'm talking over you. Yeah, sorry.
You realize we're talking about Christopher Thomas,
Yes.
who is the person that the photograph up on screen 6729 relates to.
Right.
Okay.
So
Let's deal with him before we get to Mr. Williams.
let me answer.
Okay.
So I testified earlier that this is one shooting incident without the possibility of changing guns. So therefore, both victims are included in a simultaneous shooting incident. So you can talk about Thomas or Williams. Specifically, you're talking about Thomas and an angle that could be obtained. But keep in mind, what you're saying would have to be lined up with Williams as well, and that's why we can't agree to your theory. We have to agree to, your theory has to match the shooting incident, which is simultaneous.
Okay. I have not, thank God, been in a shooting incident myself. But I have seen on TV where somebody with a...
Speculation, counsel testified.
Rephrase your question.
If somebody with a firearm says, freeze, don't move, could it cause the people inside that vehicle to freeze and not move?
When I work the streets, I tell people to freeze and don't move, and they keep running. So I would disagree.
That's your answer to that.
Objection, argument,
Sustained.
These people we're talking about in the scenario I'm presenting to you, sir, are seated inside a vehicle. And somebody is outside and says, freeze, don't move. Do you allow for that possibility?
The possibility that, no, you don't allow for it. I'm not allowing for it because we could sit here until we're both blue in the face and discuss possibilities. And the possibilities that you're suggesting, I don't agree with. Basically, the shooting happened from somebody inside the car. The blood evidence shows that it happened from inside the car. The angles show that it happened from inside the car. So any suggestion of it happening outside of the car I would not entertain because it's not possible.
Except when called upon to disprove the scenario that I presented to you, you can't do it with science and trigonometry.
objection, argument,
Sustained.
You're telling me that the scenarios that I presented to you are impossible because of your assessment of whether or not somebody would have grabbed his arm and whether or not somebody would have taken off running. Is that what you're saying?
So the scenarios that you're presenting to me do not line up with the angles into the bodies. Those angles are set. Those angles have been completed. They don't change. The angle into Anthony Williams' head does not change. The blood spatter that comes onto the headliner and the directionality that it's going, which is it's heading towards the backseat driver passenger, does not change. So anything that you suggest would not obtain the results that are inside that car right now.
Okay, let's move on. I want you to take a look at photo 6733. We could take a restroom break if the court doesn't mind.
All right, we'll take a short recess. Do not discuss the case, ladies and gentlemen.